In security matters, the state of federal cyber nearly 1 year after the OPM data breach. Last June, the Office of Personnel Management announced that the background records of current, former, and prospective federal workers and contractors had been stolen. The breach impacted 21.5 million people. It set major federal cyber initiatives in motion and accelerated some that were already in place. For more, I'm joined by Tony Hubbard, the Federal Advisory Cybersecurity Lead at KPMG, and Dan Waddell, ISC Squared Managing Director of U.S. Government Affairs. Dan, let's start there. The breach happened. How did government respond?
Well, Morris, it's been a year, and the OPM data breach was not the wake-up call many people thought it would be. Over half of our respondents felt that the resulting cyber sprint did not improve federal cybersecurity. And we also found out that over half the respondents did not think that the cybersecurity protection was in place. And 40% of them did not understand the location of where their data assets were. And I think those were two pretty important points, because if you don't understand exactly where your assets are in your enterprise, how could you possibly defend them against an attacker? And so I think the challenge is this. I think historically speaking, cybersecurity has always been an information technology play. We've got folks and organizations and other departments such as HR, acquisitions, communications, et cetera, and they see cybersecurity, it's like, it's not my job. We have to change that line of thinking. I think the message is pretty clear. Cybersecurity is everyone's job.
Now let's take a closer look at the numbers that you mentioned. You just released a study this week called the 2016 State of Cybersecurity. It's from the perspective of federal cyber executives. Here are a few highlights. 52% of them do not think the cyber sprint improved the overall security of federal information systems. 65% do not think the federal government as a whole is capable of detecting ongoing cyber attacks. 25% of federal cyber executives are considering leaving their agency. Tony, what should we take away from these numbers?
Well, I think what we take away from is it's obviously a very challenging environment. I think folks are in the cybersecurity professional world, certainly in the federal government, are trying to do what they can. There's more tools that are needed, more resources that are needed. And I think one of the underlying themes that came out from the survey is just the concept of people, and the fact that everybody's trying to do the right thing, they're trying to do the best jobs they can, but from a people perspective, there was certainly a theme that the people are the most important asset, but they're also the most important vulnerability. And I think to build on what Dan said, there's a perception, still a perception, that technology is the cybersecurity issue or the solution or the silver bullet, if you will. In reality, that's just not the case. I think what came through in the survey is, while there might be some technology solutions that could certainly benefit the cybersecurity area and help with some of the challenges, that the people are the most important part. So I think that hopefully that'll be something that'll be taken away from the survey results.
Dan, you also looked at a few trends in federal cybersecurity. It's moving away from a one-size-fits-all set of standards and moving toward predictive analytics. Tell me more.
Well, predictive analytics was one of those areas where we surveyed the federal cyber executives, and they felt that was an area of potential change and potential impact that could really, really have a paradigm shift into how we solve some of these attacks and some of these breaches. I think one of the big things that we're struggling with right now is there's so much data, and automation is certainly, and technology is certainly a great tool, but you need to have that skilled, certified, qualified practitioner behind the keyboard to make sure that the data is being analyzed and can really work at some of those predictive analytics models to really get in front of some of these breaches.
And Tony, in this report, you make the case for a federal chief information security officer. Why?
Well, I think it goes back to what Dan was saying around the concept of accountability. I think for many, many years, and you sit in rooms with federal cybersecurity executives and professionals, there's many people that have some aspect of responsibility for cybersecurity, but it's rare that you find somebody that stands up and says, okay, I'm accountable for this. And we're all optimistic that work in this field, that with the soon-to-be appointment of the federal chief information security officer, that issue of accountability will be able to permeate down through the federal government agencies. So we're very optimistic about that.
Tony Hubbard with KPMG and Dan Waddell with ISC Squared. Thanks to you both.
Thank you.